Millennial women are quiet quitting their marriages.
These women are staying in marriages when they actually could leave.
So why did this concept resonate with so many women?
The term quietly quitting gave people a voice to what they were already experiencing.
The mental load of managing the house and being the CEO of the kids, I feel like I'm treated like I'm Google.
You're speaking.
Hey guys, hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So I was scrolling on YouTube and came across, the Oprah podcast. I watch it here and there. And this time they were talking about this article that went viral called called Quietly Exiting Marriages or something like that. I'll leave it down below so you guys can check it out. It went viral and a lot of women responded because I guess it touched on something that many women are dealing with. And pretty much it's where women are checking out of their marriages emotionally. They might be married on paper and they're doing everyday things, with the kids and all that, but they're checked out emotionally and they're just kind of existing. So they said that one of the ways you know whether or not you're dealing with it is that does the person you're with like you? Do they see you? And what you tell them, is it important to them? So if you come to them and you tell them that this is how I feel, these are the issues that I'm having, how do they respond to that? Do they see you like when you walk in the room? Do they see you like if you got a new haircut? Or if you come in the room, do they like slap your butt or give you a hug and give you a kiss? Because they're just so in tune with you. And a lot of women were saying, no, they're not getting that. So a lot of women quietly exit emotionally. Then later on, some separate and get divorced and stuff like that. And, they divorce. But it was important watching some of the women on there who were expressing some of the things that led them to pretty much go this route. One of them mentioned that she felt like she was Google. Everybody was coming to her and needed everything from her. The questions, the directions, to the things about the kids' school. Another woman mentioned that she was always taking the lead, and the husband just got comfortable with that. She felt like she was doing like 80% and the husband was like doing 20 because everything fell on her. Like whether they needed like something in the house to be fixed or something came up, she was on it and she felt like she was just alone in the marriage. So she decided that she was going to leave and they're going to go co-parent. Another woman mentioned that, she wants to work on her marriage and she's telling the husband all the things that she's experiencing and dealing with. And the husband brought up that, oh, but, you have everything. You have a nice life. I'm making sure that I provide and do all this stuff for you. And he totally missed the mark. And one of the psychologists or something on there said that a lot of times when women pack their bags and they mention to the guy that they want a divorce, many of these men are sidetracked. They're like, wait a minute, why are you leaving? What's going on? Like, let's work it out. And it almost has to get to that point sometimes for some men to realize like, oh my gosh, my wife has been saying this and I didn't hear her. So at the end of the day, I think this is really important to talk about because sometimes we romanticize marriage so much. But like I've joked about, I said marriage is not just that honeymoon stage, okay? After that fades, reality hits, especially if kids are involved. Now you start looking at the real life. You have to pay bills. You have to figure out a system for the house, how things are going to function and things like that. So it becomes something more and you have to really have like communication. You have to have teamwork and all this stuff. Otherwise, somebody's going to feel resentment. Somebody's going to start feeling overwhelmed and, feel like they're just being loaded with everything. And they can get to this point of checking out. So a lot of women are checking out. And also another thing that was very important is many of them mentioned that the midlife, this is over 40s and perimenopause coming in. A lot of women feel like they're starting life all over again. They're asking themselves, what do they want, for themselves? What does happiness look like to them? And some of them answered that question. They realized that marriage is not a part of it anymore because it's just not working for them. And then some people say like, yeah, women change a lot in midlife and the men are not changing. So it becomes a very like weird time where, for example, somebody wants to travel and experience the world and the other partner is like, I want to stay home. So it becomes this thing where it's a back and forth of somebody wants this, they're not getting it. And how do they go about getting it? There's women that have gone to like counseling, try to work it out, and it's just not going anywhere. So they decide to just forget about it altogether and just say, the marriage is not working out. So the reason I also think that I was talking about this is because I'm going through some of this stuff myself. I love my husband. My husband helps as much as he can. He works all the time. I would say he's gone most of the like Monday through Sunday. With that, a lot of stuff is left to me to go on, especially when it comes to our son. There's times that I've felt overwhelmed. And I've told him, there's times that perimenopause is really hitting, and I'm just like, I can't take it. Like, everything irritates me, or I get worked up about something. But he does listen, and I know that my husband always sees me. That's one thing I've never felt like he doesn't see me. When he walks in, he's like joking with me, and he'll give me, be next to me and give me a hug, and we joke around and laugh and things like that. He always makes sure of that. So when I looked at the questions that you need to ask if you're in this kind of situation, definitely did not fit that. But I know that I've had my moments where I'm looking at myself now in my 40s, and I'm like, what do I want? What do I like? What would fulfill me and make me happy that doesn't involve my husband? Like, how do I go about getting some of the things that I wanted back in my day? And get them. Because I've sacrificed for the past couple of years, and that leads me to the other thing where, when moms or women take on, being parents, like they take it on, and they're scared to let, for example, their kids take on everything by themselves. So they do and do and do. And then one day it's like, the kids are grown up, and now what? So like my son just started school, and he's now in the after school program where he gets off a little bit later. I'm looking for work because now it's my time to come back to myself. And I feel some kind of way, I would love to, pick him up and like we used to do, and come home and he eats and we talk and he relaxes and all that stuff. But that's not the reality, because I need to figure out what I want to do with my life, at this point, So it's like, it's hard to see them, grow up, and now they're starting to do things on their own. And you're like, hey, I want to come back to me. So I've talked to my husband about all of this, and he's like, okay, whatever you have to do. But sometimes, you going after trying to figure all these things out, it can lead you to maybe the marriage not be there. And that's something you have to think about. Maybe the stuff that you want is just not aligning with the person. Like you change as you get older. So sometimes you just are not going to make it together in that way. And that happens a lot, especially when I was watching this documentary. So at the end of the day, it is important as you get older to ask yourself what's important to you. What do you want? And if you've tried everything with your partner to try to be on the same page, it's okay to let it go. When I've seen people that have left their marriages because things are no longer working for them, I understand. Because you can't stay in something where you're telling somebody, hey, these are the issues I have. Let's go do this and try to fix it. And they're not doing anything about it. And like one woman was like, we agreed on with her and her husband to just separate. It was a mutual agreement that it's just no longer working. She got tired of taking on everything. Women take on a lot, and we feel guilty sometimes when we say no. But a lot of the psychologists on there and the counselors were like, comes a point where you have to let, for example, the men you're with take on some of this stuff, let them get lost, let them not know where the kids' schools are, so they figure it out. Because if you keep taking it on, you're going to build resentment, and you're going to feel some kind of way about it. And you might just end up in a place where now you're deciding whether or not if the marriage is worth it and is it going to make it. So I think that's the only thing that I was like, I need to remind myself is, at the end of the day, you also are important. You also need to be loved the way you need to be loved, and your partner has to meet you halfway. They also have to be loved the way they want to be loved. So it goes both ways. But both of you have to come together to see yourself and say, wow, is this really worth it? We need to work on this and things like that. So I think the discussion was just really important, because I know there's people that are like sleeping in different rooms. They're doing their own thing. And sometimes, especially when the kids are around, they notice that, and it can create a lot of tension. A lot of anxiety for them, so it's important to have those discussions and say like, hey, what do we both want at the end of the day? And if it's not the same, then it's okay to decide to go your separate ways,